All right, so I've sent a screener for a movie called Children of the Pines. This will be releasing on October 18th digitally. And this is about a girl who's like a sophomore in college, and she's returning home, and her parents have been working through their issues, and she's coming home to see their progress, and they've definitely went to some lengths to try to cure their deep rooted issues within them, and of course they're not using the best practices to do so, and things don't go so wonderfully. This is much more of a drama than a horror. There are some horror aspects to it for sure, mostly towards the end. But this is a lot of like a couple people sitting in a room talking to each other about their feelings and about past traumas. And I know a lot of horror fans are not into that kind of shit at all. And so this isn't going to be for them in the slightest. I actually thought that the writing in this was fairly good when it came to like the dialogue, because our character does this narration from scene to scene where she's kind of reading her poetry, and it reflects like what's happening within the story and how it's going. I thought that stuff was pretty well done and actually added to the film's ambiance. So I did quite like that aspect of it, and the interactions between people. The film is mostly just like awkward tension between characters, because it's like her coming home and seeing her ex-boyfriend in a diner, and it's like them trying to kind of have small talk that leads into kind of awkward conversations of like, well, how you been and what have you been up to, and no one really, like, they don't know how they feel about things because things were left unsaid once upon a time, and then there's the conversation between the mom and the daughter, which is a bit of an estranged relationship, and then it's the mom and the dad, and that's a very estranged relationship, and then there's a therapist and the mom, and that is a weird relationship because she doesn't really know how to talk about her feelings because her feelings have been shut down for so many years. So every conversation in the film pretty much is just like very awkward, and it's purposely awkward, so the film feels awkward because of it. And you don't get a real good sense of like anyone's relationship being a positive thing, but that's kind of what the film's going for. But the overall experience of it for me was, it ultimately just felt fairly like it. I don't want to say directionless, because it does eventually get to go somewhere, and I think it does build to that thing, but it felt kind of tedious to get to the place. Like, I felt like I kind of got everything I needed to know out of the first 30 minutes, and then the next like 40 minutes was just kind of reiterating that over and over and not really building much more on top of that. So for me, it just felt kind of redundant at times, and the conversations just wore a bit thin, because you were like, okay, let's get to it, like what's going on here. It had kind of a feeling of the movie The Invitation at times, just because it's somebody being invited to a house and people talking about how they were cured of their pain and their suffering, and you should do it too. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about, which is a fucking fantastic film. If I'm going to recommend anything, it would be to check out that film. But if you like kind of slower burn, talky movies that have horror aspects to them, and you don't mind a lower budgeted, more inexperienced actors hashing it out and making it work the best that they can, I think it's okay. I just ultimately felt like the ending didn't have much of a payoff for me. Like, it really just kind of abruptly ends, and you're like, oh, okay. They introduced something which I actually think is a really fascinating idea, and I think it would have been better for almost the entire film if this would have been introduced much earlier in the movie. It's their cure. It's like the thing that they're given to suss out their problems for themselves. That comes at the end, and it should have came more towards the beginning, because I find that to be the most fascinating aspect of the film and could give you a lot of insight into characters and their, like, how broken they are and whatnot. So yeah, that was a bit of a shame, because I do like the idea, and since the film is called, Children of the Pines, I would have liked to have seen what I think are the Children of the Pines. I mean, you could argue that the other kids are the Children of the Pines, or that they're all the Children of the Pines, I think is maybe more of what they're getting at. But in the end, I just wish I could have got so much more out of what it ended up being. And I liked that, but we didn't get there quick enough, and we didn't explore it deep enough. So that's how I feel about it. October 18th, digitally, if you want to check it out. All right, let me know. Bye.